You're amazing. I mean it. Not because everything is polished, not because you have it all figured out, but because underneath the noise, the overthinking, the old patterns, there is something whole in you. And there is the question that sits with me today. How well do you actually know that person? Welcome to You're Amazing, your space to pause, to calm down, reconnect to your roots, awaken your spirit, and remember what truly matters. This podcast is called You're Amazing for a reason. You are naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. You're not a problem to be fixed. Even when life feels messy, there is wisdom in you. And when I say you're amazing, I don't mean it as a compliment thrown from the outside. I mean, there is something in you worth knowing, worth listening to, worth taking seriously. You're amazing is not a praise. It is an invitation to know yourself more truthfully. So today, I want to start from exactly that place and ask gently and curiously, what do you already know about yourself and what becomes possible when you trust it? Where do you already know yourself well and what is possible from that place? And where might still be something waiting to be known a little more honestly? Something that if you got closer to it, might finally move what has felt stuck for a while. And after more than 20 years in corporate life, I know how easy it is to turn life into action lists. And as a coactive coach, I'm learning again and again that action only becomes meaningful when it comes from what is true. That is what this episode is about. Not fixing yourself, not a new system, but getting to know yourself more honestly. And then taking one courageous step from that knowing. I'm Jorma, and today we are exploring what happens when learning and action become partners in how we become. So if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or YouTube, hit follow. It helps more people to find this weekly pause. Thank you for being here. So let's pause and look at that together. I want you to feel something before I name it. Think about someone who knows a lot about themselves. They have read the books, reflected, journaled, talked it through, and still some part of life feels stuck. The inside is there, but something is not moving. And then think about someone else. Always busy, always productive, always taking the next step, but never quite stopping to ask what all that action is actually teaching them. Both of these people are missing half of something, because learning without action can become a beautiful cage. And action without learning can become exhaustion. But when learning fuels action, and action creates more learning, something different happens. Life becomes a path of becoming. Maybe there is something you already know, not only in your head, somewhere deeper. A truth you keep circling, a truth that has been waiting for you to trust it. Often we do not need to understand ourselves more. We need to live what we already know. Just once, and listen to what comes back. I remember a coaching conversation where someone came in knowing exactly what they wanted to change. They had known it for years. What shifted was not more insight. It was one small lived experience that made the knowing real. That one action taught them more about themselves than months of reflection had. The loop is simple, but it changes everything. So before I continue, I want to hold this with care. Self-discovery can sometimes touch tender places, things that are bigger than a podcast or a coaching conversation can hold. If anything feels overwhelming or unsafe, please reach out to a therapist, a trusted professional, or a crisis support service in your country. I will place a resource in the show notes. Take care of yourself. So for a long time, I knew I wanted to move more, do more sports, be outside, use my body, go inline skating, something. But it was coming entirely from the doing side. I want to do more sports. I should do more sports. Why am I not doing more? And nothing really moved. Then, through being coached, through being challenged, through being sent into places where I had to go a little deeper, I was asked something different. Not what do I want to do, but what do you actually need beneath that? What value is asking for your attention here? And when I sat with that honesty, something became clear. It was not really about sports at all. It was about time for myself, being with myself, listening inwards, a morning, quiet, just me, moving a little bit, no performance, no goal. The challenge was not becoming a sporty person. The challenge was give yourself one morning that belongs only to you. And from that place, a morning routine started. Not a big fitness program, something small and true. And then, from that, I eventually did join a sports club. Went more doing the sports I love to do. And I do it regularly now. But I went there from a different place, from knowing what I actually needed, not from a feeling that I should. And now I'm learning again. I notice what the movement is building in me. More stability, more energy, more capacity. And I take that learning back into listening. What is possible now that was not possible before? And that's the loop. Learning, action, learning, action. Not a straight line. It's a spiral, always going a little deeper. So this week I have 3 invitations for you. First, you already know more than you think. There is probably something you keep circling, a truth that surfaces and then gets buried again under busyness, doubt, or waiting for the right moment. The question is not always, what do I need to understand? Sometimes it is, what do I already know that I have not yet trusted enough to live? A second, learning fuels action, and action creates more learning. This is the loop that real change moves through. When you act from genuine self-knowledge, even imperfectly, even in a small way, life teaches you something that no amount of reflection can give you. The body knows, the experience knows, and that knowing becomes the ground for the next step. Learning fuels action, and action creates more learning. This is how we become. And third, you do not need a life overhaul. You need one true step. Not a transformational project, not a new system, just one small lived experience, maybe in the next 24 hours, that makes your knowing real. One honest action from one honest truth. What is one thing you already know about yourself that is asking to be lived? So let's pause together. Bring something to your mind, a place in your life where you sense something wants to move. Maybe you already know what it is. Maybe it has been there for a while. And take one slow breath. What part of me wants to be known right now? Not fixed, not improved, just known. And take another breath. What am I tolerating that I have been pretending is fine? What is life showing me here about what I value, what I need, what is ready to be seen? And what is one small action I could take into the next 24 hours? Not to fix everything, but to make this knowing real. And take one last breath. And after you take that step, pause again and ask yourself, what did this action teach me? That is the loop. That is how you become. And quietly say to yourself, I do not need to fix myself. I am becoming, one true step at a time. And that's the pause. So here's your question for the week. What do you already know about yourself that is ready to be lived? Or more simply, what is your one true step? If this pause supported you, follow the podcast or share it with someone who may need one honest experiment this week. I'll see you in the next pause, because sometimes the real shift is not in knowing more about yourself. It is in living what you already know just once and listening to what comes back. I'm Jorma, and you're amazing. Take care of yourself. Bye.